Hey guys, welcome back to the Banter Bets and BPL podcast, episode 4. Just Liam here again, and I know it's been a bit of a break since we did our last pod, since we did part 1 of the draftable players. Sorry about that. It's been a pretty busy week this week, getting the classroom set up and getting back to school and getting ready for that. But the good thing is we're going to make it up to you guys with back-to-back episodes. Today, I'm going to be going over the draftable players in case you have any last-minute drafts, or in case you just want to look back at your draft and say, hey, I did a good job, or hey, I did an awful job, if your name is Dave Hoyer, for example. Shout out to Dave in our fantasy draft. We actually had our draft this weekend, so I also wanted to give a huge thank you to the 11 teams in my draft that passed up on Harry Kane. I was able to grab him at number 12. And yeah, this is why you guys lose leagues. That might be a little harsh, but yeah, very happy to get Kane at 12. Unfortunately, I followed it up with Mahrez in the second round, who was diagnosed with COVID about 12 hours later. That's a little unfortunate, but we'll talk about Mahrez in the Man City bit today. I think he'll be back sooner rather than later. Anyways, enough about that. We're going to go through the draftables. Tomorrow, we're going to look at Premier League future bets, season bets, top scorers, top team goal scorers to finish in Champions League, to get relegated, all that fun stuff. We'll have some 100-to-1 bets, I'm sure. We'll have some 2-to-1 bets and everything in between as we look over the season. Going to get Brother Keegs back on tomorrow, hopefully have some new guests. And then after that, we're going to be starting our program of betting week in, week out. It's obviously game week 1 coming up, so we're gonna start a little bit of a competition between myself, Brother Keegan, and probably two other participants to be announced, and then maybe a special guest as well, where we have a little competition, see who can win the most money betting game week by game week this season. Or maybe it's better to say who can lose the least amount of money betting game week to game week. But yeah, like I said, it's been a busy week of setting up my classroom, but we're back here doing what we love and talking about fantasy Premier League and betting Premier League. So let's just get into it. We ended off with Leicester. We're going to go through the teams. Quickly, before we start, I just wanted to explain what I meant by draftable players, guys, because there's a lot of players that are draftable because you need to fill out your roster of 15. So you're going to draft a lot of players. When I say draftable, I mostly mean players that you can draft and be confident that you're going to keep all season because they're going to do good, okay? Obviously, there's going to be more guys that you draft, but you're not going to hang on to your 15 guys. So guys that, are going to be on waivers that you're not going to be confident in keeping all year, I qualify those guys as not draftable, even though they might get drafted just to fill out the roster or maybe stream a couple weeks, and then you'll probably move on for them. So when I say draftable, I mean guys you can depend on all season. Like I said, if you're in a 14-team league, then it might just be 6 guys who are draftable and dependable. If you're in a shallower league, 8-10 teams, then you're probably looking to get 8 to 10 guys that are keepable all year, draftable, okay? Like I said, we're going to talk about like it's a 14-team league. Because if you're in anything less than that, then it's going to be easier. So if you're good in a 14-team league, you'll probably be good in 12, 10, and 8-team leagues. Before we start about the draftables, actually, I just wanted to talk about some transfers that I didn't discuss on the last show that I should have, that have come in the teams from Arsenal to Leicester. Havertz to Chelsea. Obviously, Havertz probably a second-round player. Draft him as your midfield 1. Probably feel good about it. He seems like he's ready to be a very good midfielder for you. Midfielder 1 or 2 if you're drafting him in the first round. J-Rod to Everton, not J. Rodriguez on Burnley. James Rodriguez. It's not the 2014 World Cup anymore, guys. I think you should temper expectations on him. I don't think he's going to be amazing. I think he's a mid-3. You never know with these guys that are a little bit older. Like, he's not young anymore. He's got to be close to 30 now, that are coming to the Premier League for the first time, that are a little dainty, a little skilled. I don't know. I think he'll be good. I don't think you need to trip over yourself to draft him early. Rodrigo to Leeds, kind of the same thing. I know he's good in FIFA, so people will probably draft him, maybe overdraft him. I don't know if he plays out and out striker. I still like Bamford for Leeds because I think the manager trusts him and they're going to play him a lot. Rodrigo, I think he kind of drifts around. He's definitely fast. He's definitely pretty good in Spain. I don't think he's going to be amazing. I wouldn't be tripping over myself to draft him, but the way forwards are going off the board in your draft, you're probably going to want him as a forward. If you have him as a forward 3, you're looking great. If you have him as a forward 2, you're looking solid. Don't draft him as your forward 1. Okay, let's get into some of the fun teams, some of the really, really fun teams coming up. We've got Liverpool. So Liverpool, obviously in net, Alisson he'll probably be definitely a top 3 fantasy goalie this year. Odds on number 1, I'd say. So yeah, if there's no goalies off the board and you want to draft a goalie, draft Alisson. Defenders, Trent, he'll be the best defender, probably. So if there's no defenders off the board, draft Trent. I don't really love drafting a defender in the second round. That seems to be where Trent is going. So you might have to go second round to get him. If you can get him in the third round and you're a guy who drafts defenders high, I don't really love that strategy. But if I were to draft a defender high, it would be Trent. I would say third round if you can sneak that one. Again, talking as if it's 14-team league. They obviously have also Robertson, who is going to be right up there with Trent, is one of the best attacking defenders in the game, also on probably the best team. So he's getting clean sheets. Love Robbo, love Van Dijk, love Gomez, not as much as the others because I think there's a bit of competition with him in that tip, but I think Gomez is pulling away as the starter there. So be confident in Gomez if you're drafting him. You'll probably be able to get him later. Love that pick. If you want to take a 5th defender flyer on Matip, maybe you do. I probably wouldn't. Don't think he's going to play, especially because game week 1, guys, there's a bunch of teams that are missing games. So you don't really want to be drafting guys that don't have high upside that might not play. Because if you're already drafting, Man City, Man U players who don't have a game in game week 1, then you don't really want to have question marks because you're already going to have some guys who are missing games. You want to have guys who are starting. You want to get off to a good start and win week 1, probably. Unless you're thinking you can get someone good on waivers by shitting the bed in week 1, which I don't love that strategy. Get off to a good start, guys. Waivers, you can get every week. There's someone good on waivers if you look hard enough. And it's not like Messi's transferring in anymore. So midfielders, draftables. Mane, Salah obviously are going probably top 5. Love them both. I probably like Salah better. The last couple of years, maybe people are saying Mane's playing better. I still think Salah's probably on pens, which that's really why I like him more. He's on penalties. He's still great. And yeah, draft them both high. Feel good about it. I don't really like any of their other mids. You never know who's going to play in the center mid role. If they get runs in the team, I like Keita as an attacking option. I like Oxlade-Chamberlain, but they just don't play consistently. So I wouldn't be drafting them. Forwards, Firmino, obviously lock him in as probably your forward 1. If he's your forward 2, you're looking amazing. He'll be at the corner of the first and second round probably. Bit of a down season last year. Still love him as a forward. Don't really like any other forwards. Maybe Brewster if he goes on loan somewhere where he can get playing time. Don't mind that. Origi, let the old guy Liverpool fan draft him in the last round. My one to keep an eye on for Liverpool is Minamino. I didn't really like him when he first came in, but it seems like he's settled in a bit. He's playing pretty well. I don't think he's going to play, but if there's an injury, I think he's the next man up. He could even play some of the games that they rotate. So I don't mind keeping an eye on him from the watch list, from the waiver wire. Or if you want to, I don't really want to get draft guys as my 5th mid, my 5th defender, my 3rd forward who might not play. Because like I said, week 1, you're already missing players. You want guys who are going to play. Keep an eye on Minamino. Moving on to Man City, goalkeeper Ederson. Again, just like Alisson, probably a top 3 goalie. Draft him. I didn't love how Ederson was playing in the second half of last season, but he's on Man City. Man City's good. He's going to keep clean sheets. Draft him high. He should be the 2nd or 3rd goalie off the board, or 1st even. You can make an argument. Defenders. not as solid as the Liverpool ones. I think Mendy is going to play. I don't like Mendy as a real life player. I do like Mendy as a fantasy player because he's a good attacker. He's not a good defender. He's not a good player, really. But they don't seem to have any other left backs that are going to play. Angelino is even there still. He was out on loan. I don't think they like him. Zinchenko wasn't too great last season. Didn't play much. Mendy seemed to play more. So if you want to draft him, yeah, I think that's a solid option. Obviously, the one you want to draft is Laporte because he's going to play. He's got to play. He's the best defender by far. I think he's the most solid to play. Walker is probably right after Laporte in terms of reliability. So those two I'd be drafting before Mendy because Mendy's still a bit of a question mark. I also like sneaky Fernandinho as a defender who's going to probably play midfield since that's his best position. So I really like that draft pick too. Midfielders, Kevin De Bruyne's I think the best player in fantasy. Draft him number 1. I would if I had number 1 pick. Sterling is also amazing. This Man City attack, you want a piece of it. You want a piece of it. Like, get this Man City attack. They score a ton of goals, especially De Bruyne and Sterling because those are the two that are locked in. Mahrez, like I said, I drafted him. I felt fine about it. The COVID thing sucks a bit, but it's not like that's going to keep him out for a long time. And like I said, you want a piece of this Man City attack. I think Mahrez is a valuable piece of that attack. He's going to be playing right wing. They're not getting messy. He played a lot of right wing last year. I know they rotate a bit, but when he's playing, and he's probably scoring or getting 2 assists or whatever. He was good last season. Draft Mahrez pretty high. Man City has a lot of draftable mids, man. Bernardo, I don't think he's amazing, but David Silva's gone. I think Bernardo's going to play a lot of center mid. And even the Man City center mids are attacking, and they score and they assist, and they beat up on small teams. So I would still draft Bernardo, not as high as the other guys, obviously. But he's a solid, 4th or 5th round guy. Solid mid-3, mid-4, one of those guys. Foden is my one to watch on this team. Although he's draftable. He's not a waiver wire watch list guy. Draft Foden. Love how he plays. Yeah, just high on Foden for sure. Draft him as a mid-3, mid-4. Don't think he's going to get enough playing time to be a top guy, but when he plays, he's going to produce, and he's going to be playing more this year. Forwards, I'm a little low on Aguero. I would be waiting to close to the end of the 1st round to draft Aguero because I feel like the last 3 years, Jesus is coming up. Aguero's going down. Eventually, they're going to meet in the middle and then keep going, and Jesus is going to be going up. So I would still draft Aguero over Jesus. If you want to draft Jesus too, I think it's a good play. Draft both of those guys as your forward 1, forward 2, if you can. But like Aguero's not going to be around for long. I think Jesus is a better value pick than Aguero because you're going to be able to get him later, and I think they could produce about even this year. I think they've met at the middle ground. Like I said, Foden is my one to watch, or maybe try and get a little later in drafts. Manchester United. I think it's De Gea's job still in net. Draft De Gea before Henderson. Henderson might be better than De Gea, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't think that, probably incorrectly. But like I said, that's real life. This is fantasy league. You want the guy who's going to play in fantasy, no matter how flawed that is. So draft De Gea as one of the first 5-6 goalies off the board. Hope he starts playing like he can. Defenders. I don't love any. I like probably Shaw the best. I think he played well last year. I draft Shaw first. Then Lindelof, Maguire. I'd probably go Maguire. I know he's got that legal thing kind of hanging over him, but I think he's going to play I think he's going to play still, despite that. He might even have something to prove. So if you want to go with that angle, then draft Maguire high. And then Lindelof, they play the same back four every week, guys, or they did last year. It's going to be Shaw, Lindelof, Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Draft all those guys because they're the ones that are going to play. Not a bad defensive team. Not amazing, definitely prone to lapses, but I like all those guys. Wan-Bissaka. I'd maybe go Shaw, then Wan-Bissaka, then the center backs, just because you know those two are going to be playing every week. I would be shocked if Williams is playing over Shaw. I know Shaw has kind of got a bit of an injury, but I think he's a better attacker than Wan-Bissaka, so I like him better. Wan-Bissaka is still learning on that, but he's a rock-solid defender, so he'll be playing every week. No one else worth drafting there in their defense. Midfielders, they're loaded. Bruno, loved him, wanted him in the draft, had the 12th pick, couldn't get him. He's a midfielder 1. He's awesome. Rashford is a mid 1. Draft him high. Can't believe he's listed as a mid. He's awesome. Okay. I really, really love Greenwood in the later early rounds. That doesn't really make sense, but a little later than the first couple rounds, if you can get him, snag him. He looked deadly at the end of last year. Hopefully he keeps it going. I like Van de Beek. I think he's going to be good. I'm hearing a lot of good things from him. So yeah, I like drafting him and at least seeing what happens. He could be. I think he's got high upside. Like they just spent 50 mil on him or whatever. They're going to play him, guys. He's not going to be on the bench. Pogba, I am very low on because he sulks. He doesn't care. He's playing like basically as the last man, or the last midfielder back there, collecting the ball off the defender, which is fine and everything, but it's not fine in fantasy because he doesn't really get forward. Like Bruno scores and assists way more than him. And now with Van de Beek in there, maybe even starting to phase out Pogba. I'm not super high on Pogba. You can have him as like a midfielder 3 or 4. Don't be relying on him to produce every week like you can with Bruno and Rashford to a lesser extent from this team. Forwards, Martial is the only one. He was awesome last year. I think he'll be awesome again. Draft him as a forward 1. Yeah. Don't draft a Gallo. Do not draft a Gallo. Newcastle, their goalie Dubravka is pretty good. He's a solid starter. Like, you know the deal with all those mid-table to low-table Premier League teams. Draft their starting goalie and play matchups. You want to have 2 starting goalies if you don't have one of the top 6, 7, 8 goalies. Defenders, they have no draftable defenders. No one you want to rely on for the year. Let other people draft the Newcastle defenders. If you want to stream them for game week 1 against West Ham, go ahead. But yeah, they're just going to be streaming defenders. Midfielders, Alexander Saint-Maximin. It's Alexander, right? No, it's Alan Saint-Maximin. Regardless of his first name, he is an exciting player. I like him as a midfielder. If you can get him as a midfielder 4 or 5, that's awesome. He should be available a little later. So yeah, love that as a draft pick. I also like Ryan Fraser. I know they just signed him. Fraser was awesome in fantasy a couple seasons ago. Was horrible this past season. Seemed like he basically quit on Bournemouth, which I don't love in terms of if you're trying to find character in a player. But I think he's definitely, like, he wanted to move. He got to move, not to a big club, but, he's got to show it again, and I think he can. And I think there's an opening for that team because Almiron wasn't that good as a mid. So, there's definitely openings in that team. Forward, they just signed Callum Wilson. Love that. Do not love Joelinton. If you like forwards who are horrible and don't score goals, then draft Joelinton and feel good about it. If not, don't draft him unless, I know forwards fly off the boards, guys. Joelinton should not be anything higher than your desperation forward number 3. Okay. My one to watch from the waiver wire is Almiron. I know I just said he was bad last season. He started playing a little bit better. Okay. If they have a better attack, which I think they will with Callum Wilson, an actual forward who can score goals, and Almiron sticks in the starting lineup. They had a lot of faith in him last year. They were playing him a lot last year. I know I said Fraser can come in and give him competition, but that's definitely not a sure thing. If Almiron's playing, I think he's a decent one to watch and maybe bring in as a midfielder 5. So yeah, that's about it for Newcastle. Oh, I forgot to give my one to watch for Manchester United. My one to watch, and people are going to kill me for this, and this is real. Watch him from a safe distance, not too close. Don't you got binoculars for watching him. That's how far away. But watch him is Jesse Lingard. Just because I know I'm the last guy with trust in Jesse Lingard, with real estate on Lingard Island. But I think he was a good player. He had a tough personal time last year. Maybe he comes back a little bit revitalized this year. They have a lot of forward options, but maybe a couple injuries. He's in the team. He gets a run of form. He's a huge confidence player. If his confidence goes up, so will his production. Like I said, watch him with binoculars from the waiver wire. Okay, Sheffield United. I don't think they'll be as good as last year. Just going to put that out there. The mid-table teams that have good runs, like the Burnleys who had a good run, the next year after, they usually aren't as good. They usually regress. So don't be absolutely banking on them and their defenders being amazing and like they were last year. Their defenders were awesome last year. But yeah, draft their goalie Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale will be the starter. I noticed Fotheringham was starting in the preseasons for some games. I would be drafting Ramsdale before Fotheringham, obviously. But if you're in the last round, there's no other goalies you like everyone's a backup, maybe just pick Fotheringham as your goalie too, and maybe he starts. Probably not, but it's better than drafting, I don't know, like Joe Hart or someone. Defenders, I do like Stevens and Baldock. They get forward a lot. They're part of the attack, so those are the defenders you want, even though I said they'll probably regress. Don't expect them to be as good as last year, but they're still good attackers on a solid team. Should be still solid. Won't be set. Did they get 7th last year? Something like that. I don't know. But they're still decent draft picks. Basham, Egan, O'Connell. They might be holdable the whole year. I tend to say no, but if you wanna draft one of them as your defender 5 and see how it goes this season, I don't mind that. Midfielders, the only one I really like is Fleck. Okay, Lundstrom is listed as a mid now. He's not a defender anymore, so there goes that. He also wasn't really playing last year. Don't be overdrafting Lundstrom just because he was a fantasy darling last year as a defender who was banging him in, playing as a basically attacking midfielder. I don't think he's going to play solid because after they signed that Berja guy, Lundstrom was kind of the guy to make way. He was playing like 1 in every 2, 1 in every 3. So you don't want a center mid on Sheffield United that's playing 1 in every 3 games, guys, even if he was awesome last year as a defender in fantasy. Fleck, I think, could score goals, like him as a player. He's a midfield 5. Probably not hold on to him the whole season. Forwards, the mix, McBurney, McGoldrick. I like McBurney. He's a real pain in the ass to play against by the looks of it. Draft him as a forward 2-3. Draft McGoldrick as a forward 3. He had a ton of shots last year and didn't score any goals. I'm thinking he's got to regress to the mean a little bit. They still trust him. He works his butt off. I don't mind drafting him as a forward 3 and hoping for some positive goal-scoring regression there. He'll definitely – I'm going to stick my neck out on the line and say he'll definitely score before game week 35 this season, which is when he scored last season. My one to watch for Sheffield is, I'm going to say, Mousset. I know he wasn't playing as much last year. I don't know. People seem to like him, but I don't think he was playing towards the end of the season. If McGoldrick starts off slow, maybe they bring in Mousset. Even if you want to watch Sharp from the wire, he's not a bad forward option either. Because you never know with these Sheffield, I know they like to play McBurney, McGoldrick, but I don't think they're averse to starting one of those guys either. So maybe if they get a run in the team, start scoring, McGoldrick's not scoring again, and he comes out, one of those guys could be ownable. Southampton. Southampton goalkeeper Alex McCarthy, thought he was really good last season. He's one of the higher end mid-table goalies. I think he should be a top 10 goalie in fantasy, which is pretty good. Like top 10, there's already like the big 6 and then Wolves, Leicester, those teams who have better goalies, but I think McCarthy is the best of the rest. Defenders for Southampton, probably none you want to keep all year. If you're going to keep one all year, keep Bertrand. He's an awesome attacker. Southampton's a good team. They might keep some clean sheets. Maybe they could be this year's Sheffield or, this year's Sheffield, Burnley from 2 years ago that makes a push for Europe. I think maybe more of their defenders become valuable. Midfielders, I really like Redmond. They're a good attacking team. Redmond's always playing. He's nimble. He's got a bit of skill. Not the biggest goal scorer, but if you're going to pick a mid, I'd pick him. My one to watch is Stuart Armstrong. Always liked his game. He plays a lot. They're a decent attacking team. If you can get him as your mid-5, maybe take a flyer on him or watch him from the wire. Forwards, Danny Ings. He is going to be overdrafted, guys. There's no way he scores as many goals as last season. I think he is good. I don't think he's Golden Boot good in the Premier League. Everything went right for him last year. I don't think it goes as right for him this year. He's still a solid second, not first, second best forward on your team, okay? People are reaching up into the second round to grab him. I would not be grabbing him that high, I don't think. Maybe he proves me wrong, but I think let someone else overdraft him based on the hype of last year. The Southampton forward I do like is Shea Adams because he's going to be available much, much, much later. He was going to be starting, it took him a season to bed in, but he was a highly rated signing when they got him. I think he's going to be good this year. Maybe draft him later as you got him as your forward 3, you're looking awesome. If you got him as your forward 1, Sandy, you're not looking awesome. But he's a solid forward 2 or 3. Spurs, Hugo Lloris, good goalie. Draft him as a top 5 goalie. Nothing more needs to be said about that. Don't draft Joe Hart. Don't even draft Gazzaniga. It's going to be Lloris. If he goes down, pick up Gazzaniga. And run to the waiver wire and do that. But you don't need to draft those guys unless you're just drafting Lloris and Gazzaniga and have the Spurs goalie. That's the only strategy where you have Gazzaniga. Defenders, Doherty. Love Doherty as a player. He's basically a winger disguised as a defender. At least he was at Wolves. The thing is, Spurs don't attack as much. Kind of a weird signing for me with Jose Mourinho. I still like Doherty as a defender 1. I think he's going to be one of the best. He's just awesome. He bombs forward, scores, gets assists. He's in the opposing box waiting for crosses when the left back's crossing, and he's on the right, which is it's so fun to own him. I imagine, never owned him. So fun to own him and basically watch him playing as a forward. I don't think he'll be going up like that for Tottenham, but he's still got the pedigree to draft high. Outside of that, I think my next defender I'm drafting on Spurs is Davinson Sanchez. He seemed to be the one that Mourinho trusted the most last year. Do they even have Vertonghen anymore? Don't think they do. They have Alderweireld. He seemed to not love Alderweireld either. So I'd say draft Sanchez. He's going to play the most. If you want to take a flyer on Alderweireld later, sure, go ahead. He'll probably be overdrafted because his name value, so he probably won't be available in the range that you do want to draft him. So I don't love him. Davies, Rose. I think Davies plays. Mourinho doesn't really like Rose, so if you want to take Davies as a later defender, sure. Don't be taking Rose. Don't be taking Sessegnon or any other of those defenders. For me, it's Doherty, Sanchez, Alderweireld, Davies. Don't love anyone but Doherty, really. Midfielders, here's where you grab Heung-min Son as one of your top 2 players and ride him. He's awesome. Love him as a midfielder 1, right? He's gonna score and assist. Dele Alli, don't mind him as a bounce back potential. If you could snag him a little late, people are definitely going to be down on him. I think he's obviously got the potential to be like your second best or third best mid. He's got the potential to be your best mid. But I wouldn't be banking on it. He's been on a bit of a downward trajectory, but the guy with that much skill, solid bounce back potential. Bergwijn versus Lucas is a bit of a debate. I go Bergwijn over Lucas. I think he'll play more. I think he'll play better. Lucas is kind of fun. He had that big goal against Ajax, but he's a little wishy-washy when he's going to play. I think Bergwijn's a little more solid there. Don't mind him as your mid-3 or mid-4. Forwards, it starts and ends with Harry Kane. Don't let him slip to number 12. Don't be drafting guys like – the only forwards that should be drafted ahead of Harry Kane is – I don't even know. I wouldn't draft Aguero over him. I wouldn't draft Lacazette over him, obviously. I wouldn't be drafting Jimenez over him. I wouldn't draft Martial over him. I would draft Kane over everyone but maybe Werner, who seems pretty exciting. But draft Kane as your forward 1, guys. Don't get cute. This is Harry Kane. He's going to score goals in the Prem. My one to watch for Tottenham. Actually, my one to watch for Tottenham, I know I said don't draft him. It actually is Sessegnon, just because maybe Mourinho he doesn't play young guys unless he's like, man, I got to prove a point. I'm going to play this young guy just to say I play young guys. And maybe he plays the young guy, Sessegnon, and maybe he plays them further forward. He's listed as a defender. So if he starts playing and he's playing further forward, he could be a steal. And then in that case, run to the waiver wire. Don't walk. Pick up Sessegnon as a defender who's playing further forward if he gets around in the team. So keep an eye on it. West Bromwich Albion, not a lot of draftable players here. Johnston is their goalie. Like I said, he'll probably be available late. If you're going with the relegation or the promoted goalies, the Brother Keegan strategy, then yeah, draft him and hope that West Brom is awesome. Probably won't be. Defenders, none. Move on. Midfielders, Pereira seems like he's really, really good. So, and he's available probably later. You could probably draft him as your mid 4. If you got him as your mid 4 or 5, love it. He seems like he's going to be awesome. Forwards, Charlie Austin. I was doing a bit of reading, and all the fans hate him because he can't finish and he's out of shape. So I wouldn't really want to draft him. Hal Robson-Kanu scored that awesome goal at Euro 2016. Draft him instead as your forward 3. Don't be expecting too much from him. It's Hal Robson-Kanu after all. West Ham United, like some of these players, I always get sucked into liking West Ham attackers, and they always usually aren't very good. But that's because I was liking the wrong kinds of West Ham attackers. The Arnautovic's, that pout, the Lanzinis that flitter in and out of games and have one good pass. And you're like, oh man, I need that guy. But then he's not good. The Fornals, who are just basically passengers the whole game. You don't want to like any of those guys. Don't draft any of those guys. But I do like some West Ham players this year. And we'll get into that. Fabianski, I like. He's a good goalie. Like I said, he's your starting goalie that's going to start for a mid to low table team. So yeah, if you have 2 of those, then you just ride them based on matchups. Okay, so yeah, do that with Fabianski. Defenders, you'd be crazy if you liked any West Ham defenders for anything more than streaming. If they get hot and are really good and are the next breakout team, which is there's no way that happens because this is West Ham. But if it does happen, then pick up Cresswell. He's a good attacker. It's kind of like Bertrand on Southampton. Gets forward. He can even shoot free kicks across as well. He's the one I want. If they get good, they probably won't. My midfielders, the midfielder I really, really wanted this year and got was Jared Bowen. This guy scored 25 goals for Hull as a midfielder the season before last, and then he transferred to West Ham halfway through last year, and he's one of the top scorers in the championship when he transferred. I know you're going to say, "Oh, it's just the championship." Guys that score in the championship usually score lots in the Prem. Okay, with the exception of Dwight Gale, who's stuck in championship, Premiership purgatory with Cameron Jerome and the boys. But Jared Bowen, he was great last year when he transferred. Okay, he looks awesome. I love watching him. He's direct. He scores goals. He gets forward. He's not one of these, pissy pants Lanzini who's not going to work hard. Pissy pants Felipe Anderson who's just going to drift in and out. Bowen is locked in. He's a killer. He's a killer. He's going to work his butt off all game, and he's got quality. So draft him. I love him as a midfielder 3 or 4. He's the guy I want in drafts. Fornals. Don't draft Fornals unless you want to be disappointed every week. Same with Lanzini and Felipe Anderson and Snodgrass and all those other guys. The one you want is Bowen. If you're going to draft one as a midfielder 5 who's definitely going to be available late, it's Souček. Souček was really good when he came last season. He's an awesome aerial threat. He makes late runs into the box. He's not just – usually I stay away from holding mids. This guy isn't just a holding mid guy. He gets into the box. He's a menace on set pieces. I had him for a bit last year off waivers, and I loved him. So I like him a lot as a midfielder 5, and you'll probably be able to draft him as such because he's way down there in the player rankings. Forwards, do not draft Haller in the 4th round. That happened in our draft, so Mike, tough one, buddy. Haller is not good. What did he score, like 2 goals last year? There's a chance they play with Antonio and Haller. They'll probably do that until they realize, what the hell? This wasn't working last year. It's not working this year. Haller's not good. Antonio's really good. Let's just play Antonio by himself up top, which leads me to Antonio, who I love as a forward 2 or 3. Guys, this guy's for real. I know he was playing fullback in the past. I know, yeah, give me all the things you want. Like, oh, he's not a real forward. He has become a real forward. He scored 4 goals in the game last year. He was scoring every game after the restart, pretty much. This guy bullies defenders. He's a nightmare to play against. His coach loves him. His coach is going to play him every week. Draft Antonio and don't look back. Last team, Wolves, Rui Patricio, one of the top, most reliable goalies. Draft him as your goalie of one, and feel good about it. Not the best goalie, but as your goalie one, if you're not taking one of the top ones, draft Patricio. I forgot to do my ones to watch on the other teams. One to watch for West Brom. Who knows? No matter who, it's going to be available from the waiver wire. So just keep an eye on West Brom and keep an eye on who's playing. Apparently, Livermore is a good midfielder for them. Apparently, that's pretty grim because I remember him not being very good. Maybe he's gotten better. West Ham, one to watch. If you want to keep an eye on, one of their midfielders, Bowen's, someone's got to play with Bowen. So if you want to keep an eye on, if Souček isn't drafted, keep an eye on him for sure. If you want to keep an eye on whichever one plays along on the other flank from Bowen, I like Snodgrass the best because he actually tries. Delta played Bowen and Snodgrass, but maybe it's Snodgrass. The other guys are good in FIFA, big names that are going to disappoint you and you should not draft. I'm talking to you, Pablo Fornells, Manuel Lanzini, Felipe Anderson. Stay away. But yeah, keep an eye on Souček and Snodgrass. Wolves, Patricio, talked about him. Okay, their defenders. I like Vinegra. I think he's going to play as a far forward fullback like they always do. He was the one that was stepping in every time Doherty and Johnny missed last year. And guess what? They don't have Doherty anymore, and Johnny's hurt for a long time. So don't draft Johnny. Mike, another one of your blunders in our league. Shout out to Mike for an awful draft. Draft Vinegra instead, and draft Marcal if he's in the game. Even I heard if Marcal isn't ready to play, they might start with that Burr guy. So if you want to have him for week one, that's cool too. I like the Wolves defenders. They're solid. Even not the ones that get forward. The Bolies, the Codys, the Sais. So Boley, Cody, Sais, if you want to draft them as one of your defenders, and I think they're worth keeping all year. So yeah, draft those 5 Wolves defenders. Marcal, Vinegra, Boley, Cody, Sais. Probably in that order. Midfielders, Traore, awesome player, probably going to be overdrafted because there's a chance he's in one of the wingback roles. Okay, I love him as a player. He's so fun to watch. He's a beast. He's got big muscles. He's really fast. He's actually got an end product now, so he's a fun one to have on your team. I wouldn't be tripping over myself to overdraft him. Probably going to be a little too hyped. On the other hand, underhyped is Jota, who's listed as a mid now. Usually plays with Jimenez, was really good 2 seasons ago, had a bad season last year. Love him as a bounce back candidate. Forwards, you want Jimenez. Jimenez was awesome last year. Jimenez is awesome all the time. I wouldn't be reaching up super, super high like number 8 where he got drafted this year in our draft. But if you can get him in the second round, he's probably going to be there in early second round. Draft him. Love him as a forward one. Even if you draft 2 forwards at the corner of the first and second round, then you're looking good if Jimenez is one of those. My one to watch is that, I don't even know his name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. He came in from Porto. Fabio Silva, I think. There's so many Portuguese guys on Wolves that it's tough to keep track. But yeah, he's one to watch, and he's probably going to get drafted. I don't think he's going to be worth throwing right away because I know they spent $35 million on him, but he's 18 and he scored 1 senior goal in his career. So he's one for the future, and he may be awesome in 2 to 3 years, but we're not playing Fantasy Prem 2 to 3 years from now, right now. We will in 2 to 3 years. We're not playing that right now. So I would not be tripping over myself to draft him either. But he is the one to watch in case, I think they're going to start Jimenez and Jota and Traore over him in the forward spots. But in case maybe there's an injury or in case, they didn't really rotate last year in the Europa League, and they don't even have that this year. So I don't think he's going to be playing too much, guys. If he does, then you're going to want him because he's probably pretty skilled. I think that is it for us, guys. That's the Draftables Liverpool to Wolves. If you have any more drafts, then there you go. You know your guys to target now. If you did your draft, then you know who to be happy about, who to not be happy about. Draft season is the best. I love seeing people panic. Even when I panicked a little bit in my draft. It's all in good fun. Everyone rips on you. And then you drop that guy 2 weeks in when he was your 3rd round pick. Isn't that fun? Yeah, that's it, guys. Like I said, good to be back on here. We're going to have some future bets probably tomorrow, maybe even touch it tonight a bit. I don't know. It's going to be out soon, though. Like I said, we're getting podcasts back to back to back because we got the futures and then we got game week 1 betting preview. So excited to have this underway at the same as we got soccer and football coming up this weekend. It's going to be an awesome weekend. I'm going to be on the couch the whole time. Anyways, yeah, stay safe out there, bet safe out there, draft safe out there, and we'll see you guys soon.